All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Gia Banner, back with the Uptown Standard crew. We went on a little bit of a summer hiatus there, but we are back. And today we are sitting down with Councilman David Oh. Once again, thank you so much for coming back and sitting down with us today.
All right. Thanks for having me here today as your guest.
Of course. Today we really want to talk about an upcoming event, PHL Live Center Stage. So this event is centered around Philly's music scene. And in terms of identifying Philly's top musical talent, awarding them with cash prizes, among other things. So Councilman O, can you give our viewers a brief summary? Just delve a little bit deeper into what PHL Live Center Stage is.
So PHL Live Center Stage appears to be like a music contest, but it's actually not. It's a music platform. The difference is this. This is not a business. It's really something in the public interest. And that is that we have a free platform at PHL Live, PHLLIVE.org, where people can go on and for free upload a video of their music. In most categories, there's 10 categories, it's original music. But in some categories like classical music and gospel, it can be music that is in the public domain. But, people still, do original music. They write their own music or they collaborate with someone and they perform it. What we do with that is we send those videos to our music industry experts who will look at each video very carefully and then select 5 in each one of 10 categories. And the 5 then get to perform live at great venues like Milk Boy or World Cafe Live, Hard Rock Cafe, Kung Fu Necktie, places like that where they'll perform live in front of the judges who selected them. And after their performance, there will not be an announcement of who the winner is. That is reserved till the award show. And so at the award show, all 10 categories, 50 different musicians, some being soloists, some being, bands or groups, they'll all collect together at the award show in all the 10 different categories of music. And then they'll announce the 5 finalists and the winner. And the winner gets $1,000 plus possibly other prizes such as free studio recording time and things like that. There is also a people's choice, and that means each one of the 50 finalists can really ask their fans and friends to vote for them, and the winner who get the most votes will get a 11th prize, which is another $1,000. So sometimes it's one of the 10 winners and sometimes it isn't. Sometimes there's 10, winners, and then someone who wasn't a winner of the 10 categories was a finalist becomes the 11th winner. So what that really is about is trying to provide an opportunity for aspiring musicians and artists to have a platform where their music and their performance is reviewed by people who are like Grammy nominated engineers, 2-time Grammy award winners, music industry professionals like Deanna Williams and music directors like Brent Porsche at WMMR, or Mark Raz over at the country music station, 92.5 XTU. So we have got all kind of folks there and they volunteer. This is something they want to do to give an opportunity to those who really, really are working hard and are gifted and just need a break. And so we have 10 categories, everything from like rock to classical to gospel to hip hop to DJ to R&B. So we have 10 categories and we have excellent judges and hosts. And so what is this really about? It's about the opportunity for people to get a pathway to becoming who they want to be. maybe they won't win PHL Live. Maybe they won't be a finalist. But the biggest thing is to get off the couch, right? The biggest thing is to get going. And here, it's not a ripoff. It's not a scam. You don't have to doubt like what's going on here. We're not a private company. We're the city of Philadelphia. And our interest is really in human capital and really in the ability of people to begin that process of getting out there. Now, I will say this. Sometimes we have people who really never performed before, and it's amazing because they might just record themselves singing in the bathroom or in the hallway. But many of our finalists are professional musicians. They're very well known, but it is so hard to break into that higher level, right? Where you're actually drawing a huge audience, you're getting well paid, you're getting sponsors, and that's what we're trying to do. This is first about human capital, but it's about economic opportunity. We want our talented people here from Philadelphia to have a platform whereby they can be fulfilled, they can receive the finances they need to pursue their art and their craft, and to base themselves in Philadelphia. Yeah, travel to New York, to Nashville, go out to LA, all that stuff. But, many of them will want to live in Philadelphia and inspire and help other people around them.
That is fascinating. I didn't realize the process was so in depth. Where their videos are reviewed and, and they're judged and called in, and almost has a little bit of an American Idol type of feel, like one of those shows almost a little bit, which is really, really cool that you're providing that opportunity. So, Councilman O, is this the first time that this event is taking place, or when did it start?
This is the 7th time we're doing it, but we were interrupted by 2 years of COVID. So we did our 6th annual event, and then we had a COVID in 2020, COVID in 2021, and the venues weren't there and people didn't want to gather, that type of thing. And so in 2022, this is our 9th year, but our 7th show. And, we have to thank our sponsors and our volunteers, because what happens is our venues are provided for free. Our judges and hosts do it voluntarily. And we get our prize money and other things from sponsors. This year, it's Dunkin' Donuts and Labor's Local 57. So they're not doing it because of the business of music. They're doing it to help, give people hope and opportunity to fulfill themselves. And it really, it could be a lot of things. It could be something that, redirects people from negativity to positivity. It can be anti-violence. It may be something where, people may not know they have this talent. That's why we have a gospel section. Even where there's no formal music lessons, they may not have music in their school, but, they go to church and receive tremendous training. They practice. And sometimes people don't appreciate, in the sense that, oftentimes people think of the arts as not a real job. But, there are many things people do that show commitment, dedication, grit, the ability to overcome. Those things just have to be applied in different areas of their life. And so someone who has consistently, gone to practice, learned music, been selected, performed in front of the public, all those things, that's a lot. And then some people, everyone tells them, you have this gift, you're fantastic, but it's not so easy to find a platform. And especially here in Philadelphia, what's unfortunate is, and one of the reasons that I started this is that I heard from many artists a complaint that Philly's got no love. In other words, they work hard, and when they finally make it, they're off to New York or some other city because, it was tough in Philly and it helped shape who they are, but they don't have any gratitude to this city because this city did not really give them the break-in opportunity they needed. They found their success somewhere else. So we do need to look at that and make sure that our city is providing the opportunities. Yeah, sure, in academics like science and math, and if you want to go to medical school or you want to be an engineer or a journalist, sure, in all those areas, but in the creative arts economy too, whether you want to be a filmmaker, whether you want to author a novel, whether you want to do fashion, whether you want to be a television newscaster, but yeah, sure, music is one of those things where it's truly an equal opportunity employer. You could be rich or poor, black or white, male or female, and maybe you got your own style, maybe you got your own sound. You just need a platform, and it's all about talent and dedication, hard work, but you need an opportunity and you need some really good guidance. And that's a whole nother level there. Well, we expose them, a little bit to that by the level of professionals that we have. But, the first thing we do is we provide a launching point to get into a higher level. Now, that's not guaranteed, but sometimes, our music producers and studio recorders and all that, they see someone they like. And that's another thing, because, I've seen the selection process.
Mm-hmm.
And, we have like 3 judges looking at these videos, and they'll name their top 5, but they may be a very different top 5 depending on, who's doing the judging, and they'll argue about it and, go back and forth and finally end up with like a list of 5. Mm-hmm. But you never know that someone who did not make the list of 5 was the top choice of one of our judges, or was one of the 5th choice of one of our judges. And that's really just looking at a video. And so I really urge people, if you weren't selected as a finalist, still show up, root for the other people. And that's one of the things we've got to do. We got to be a fan of other people's success. We have to show up for other people and cheer them on and hope for the best, for them. And in that process, meet some of those judges. And one of those judges, maybe a Grammy Award winner, says, oh, this is the person that I wanted to give, a try to. I wanted to hear what he or she sounds like. And they have your own conversation. Like, it's great networking. And one of the things I think about Philadelphia is that many times people feel bitter, that they didn't get what they wanted. But if they were really, really a lover of the art and really, really trying to move forward, they would be different. They would show up. They would network. I mean, that's what happens in New York and other places like that, right? Mm-hmm. So we're trying to bring that to Philadelphia, and there's tremendously talented people. I mean, no lie, Philadelphia is chock full of talented people. I mean, I'm not just saying that because I'm from Philadelphia and I'm a Philadelphia councilman. I didn't know that until I got into this, because I'm not a music person. Oh, okay. But everybody says, you look at all the famous acts out there, there's at least somebody from Philadelphia. We supply a lot of the background singers and musicians. A lot of that is from Philadelphia, because this is a really tough town to get ahead, but we're a tremendously talented city. And what we need to provide opportunity, which provides hope, and hope brings out the best in people.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And, you said this is the 7th time that you've been doing this, yes. 9th year.
Yep.
So what have you seen in terms of, over the years, the evolution of this event in terms of the judges and who's getting involved and the artists, with this whole 2-year hiatus and it coming back? Is there a different type of momentum this year? Are we expecting a bigger event, a smaller event? What type of thing are we expecting in terms of?
So I'm not sure. What happened is, the first time we did it, we had so many submissions. Mm-hmm. And each year after that, the submissions got fewer. Mm-hmm. But that's because people, no longer just submitted stuff. They actually had to, like, in other words, quality got just better and better. Mm-hmm. And the judges, each year they did it, they found the quality to be better, and they got used to doing it. And it was actually a great way. In other words, they're music professionals. So now instead of like going out to things, we were bringing people right to them, and they would sometimes get hired and they'd have opportunities, things like that. So our judges and hosts really enjoyed it as well, and it was very meaningful. And we had like our best and biggest show the last year we did it. That was 2019 downstairs at the World Cafe Live. But COVID interrupting it for 2 years, I don't know what to expect.
Right.
People would say to me, are you still doing PHL Live? Are you still doing the music initiative? Are you still doing that? And that was, when I was out in West Philly or North Philly or up in the far Northeast, or, people would ask me, especially young people. And so now that we're doing it, which is a struggle because there's some, many music venues closed, a lot of live performance venues closed. They did not reopen. So we had to find the locations and, the whole idea of getting sponsorship. For those who don't know it, a council person at large does not have any funds provided by the city. And so for me, for all the work that I do, I have to go privately raise this money. And so, we've given out $66,000 to people, who've earned it through their performance and through, their willingness to put themselves before the public. And so now this year we have our prize money. We're trying to add some bells and whistles to it. And the process opens on August 15th. People can begin submitting on August 15th until September 30th. And then the window's closed. You can't submit after that.
Write that down, viewers.
Yeah, August 15th to September 30th. And then, our judges have like a 2-week window to go through all those videos, argue with each other, and, negotiate, compromise, and come up with their 5 finalists. And then we send the performance tape to those finalists in, 10 different genres of music. And after the performance, it's usually about 3 weeks. We end up in December at the award show. And it's a fantastic evening. It's so cool to see because people are so supportive. They'll cheer for the the opera singer and the violinist, and the cello players cheering for the hip hop artists, and the country music folks are cheering for the indie rockers and the jazz artists. And they've done collaboration. So it's a really very good, very positive vibe.
So it's not just, the Philly rap or hip hop scene. It sounds like there's a large scope of music genres that are covered in this.
Yeah. So for example, we have a winner of our jazz category who later went on to win the Sarah Vaughan International Jazz Soloist Competition, right? And she's like one performer. But then we had like a church choir with like 40 members. So it's 50 performers, whether it's one person, 5 people, or 40 people. So when you gather them all together, it's very diverse, and it's very, very cool. It's very interesting.
100%. It sounds like it. Very, very diverse. So how did you originally get involved with this? Is this something that you created, or was it brought to you, or what's the backstory?
Yeah, so I started running for office in 2004. And, I was an attorney. I'm still an attorney. I just don't practice law. It wasn't my intention to run for city council. But I heard on the radio folks talking about riverboat gambling, how it was going to create all this economic development and save our city. And I was thinking to myself, that's not true. Somebody should actually talk about where jobs come from and where education intersects in a real way with people's hopes and dreams, right? The future for them. And so I started talking about a ecosystem, a city where someone who wants to write a novel will sit down over a cup of coffee, listening to Latin jazz at 2 a.m, not because they've been up all day, no, because they're not necessarily 9 to 5 workers. And maybe someone visiting from Argentina and someone who's a visiting professor from Japan, all sitting together, collaborating, talking, coming up with ideas. And I thought this kind of gathering of diversity in perspective and expertise would be good for the city, kind of like moving towards a creative, innovative economy, and really based in a scope larger than Philadelphia, being a global economy. And I did run on that and talk about it. And when I finally did get elected, because I didn't get elected right away, one of the first things I did was excuse me, I heard about a group of investors from China that were up in New York, and each one of them had to have 50 million cash to invest to be in that delegation. Well, they never come to Philadelphia. We never heard of them. So I went to see the council president. I just been elected. I wasn't sworn in. I said, listen, I want to go up to New York and try to catch this delegation. I think it would be great if we had a committee on council that dealt with the global opportunity and a creative, innovative economy. And he picked up the phone and he said, we're making a committee on, what'd you say? And I said, global opportunities and a creative, innovative economy, hence the really long name. And then he named me the chairman of it. So when I was sworn in, I thought one of the first things I could do was in the music industry. And I had an idea about doing like a week-long free music in Philly, and people would come in, go to restaurants and all that. But I knew nothing about the music industry or anything like that. And I would talk to people. I couldn't find any experts. Everybody was an expert. You know, when I met them, everybody was an expert, and they weren't, right? And they all wanted like $75,000, $25,000. I would always tell them I have no money, right? But they would always like, oh, that'll be $25,000. So by chance, I was talking to someone, and they were telling me it was a terrible idea. And they said, yeah, we practice, you know, now we got to pay for gas, show up, plug in, and we don't get paid. And I was thinking, oh, you need the exposure. And they were thinking like, this costs us a lot of money and effort. And it's kind of like everyone, you're gonna build an economy in the city for the restaurants. What do we get? You know? So I completely changed because I said, wow, that's true. Like I was thinking from a like an audience point of view. And it's like I'm an attorney. People would say to me, like, I want to give you my case to give you some practice. So I'm not going to pay you because you practice on me, right? So I'm like, okay, that's not working. So I was trying to figure out, like, how could we do something? But I had a friend who was doing a film, like a film festival. And I thought, if you did something in music like a film festival, where, you know, the mere fact that your film was accepted at the film festival was like big, it was good, right? And then if you could add on to a prize. And so the thing was, if you could submit online, it would be free, you know, and we could collect that. The big problem, of course, is you need outstanding judges. Mm-hmm. And that's when, by chance, a couple of folks walked into my office. One of my staffers had been a part-time writer for the Tribune, and she had interviewed Chill Moody and Gogo Morrow, and they were among the first. Joanna Pang, who owned the Trocadero, came in, and she said, no, I love what you're doing. You know, we'll take a loss. We'll open this up for you. I'm happy to say I don't think she ever did take a loss because, you know, they make money on the bar and things like that. And one of my staffers, he actually knew and was friendly with Carvin Hagens, who is two-time Grammy Award winner, mm-hmm. and producer and all that stuff. And he actually came in. And so all of a sudden I had this star lineup, and then Tommy Joyner from Milk Boy came over. And, you know, once you get a lineup like that, and then we were working on something, and then Stephanie Seipel from Tri-State Indie, she came into it. And these, you know, and so we all of a sudden had this really credible group of people, mm-hmm. and other people, they just liked the idea. They were saying like, Philly needs this. Deanna Williams, who, you know, is you know, on the radio, but behind the scenes is like a consultant to the stars, and she does a lot of work with like Rihanna, Justin Bieber when they were starting out. And so
Yeah.
they really know the music industry, and I didn't know the music industry, and kind of like hanging around them, I got to learn a few things about it. But I'm primarily interested in the jobs. I'm
Right.
interested in people making a living, and beyond making a living, like you could make a living, working in an office or a factory, and then use your money as you please.
Mm,
But this is like doing what you dream of and making your money, right?
yeah.
So in that sense, I thought that the opportunities for Philadelphia in the creative arts economy would be excellent. And, it's one of the things that we could really do. You can't do everything.
Mhm.
We are a city of eds and meds, and we are a city of arts and culture. And we have a very gifted group of people living in our city, but we need to provide them a platform. I'm just sorry our city does not invest more into
Right.
the arts, creative arts economy. And I have tried to create like a $45 million arts fund. Like the numbers, when I talk about, how much money this generates for our city. And that's one of the most important things I have to tell the audience. You're talking about like $920 million in household income every year, $3.4 billion in economic impact, and the taxes that come to the city is 157 million per year, right? That's a lot more money than a lot of other things people can think of. And yet our city puts very little, next to nothing, into the arts. And you look at cities like in New York with like a $200 million fund for the arts. We have like a $4.2 million budget for the arts as a city, and it's mostly in terms of grants, and you're not building anything. I have a music task force, I have a film and television task force, and now I have a fashion task force, and we just issued a report. But again, you need money, and you can't think of the arts in terms of nonprofit. Yeah, that's wonderful. It's so important. Help the kids, do all that nonprofit. But people want to be Jay-Z and Beyonce.
Yes.
They wanna be at the top, and they want what comes along with it.
Yeah.
So for economic development, people have to get paid. They have to be worth what they're worth. They have to get the money that comes with it. Yeah, you can't tell people you got to be poor if you want our help. No, that's not right.
Well, I love what you're doing. Your mindset behind it is, I think, definitely resonates with the people who are, participating. So with that being said, I have one last quick question for you.
Sure.
So one, are there any other ways that our viewers, our audience, can get involved outside of being an artist and submitting? Any other ways to get involved in this event? And tie that in. Any final thoughts you have for us today?
Yeah, sure. When we talk about, let's say, PHL Live, for example, we have people who they do the stage. We have people who um, uh, they'll do the audio. We have people who design our little postcards that we hand out, promotional pieces.
Mhm.
So yeah, there, and there are things that people can do, volunteering for PHL Live, helping out, things like that, because, we had a group from what was like one of our technical arts schools. And, from there, they met a lot of folks and got a job. I mean, so it's not just a performer who's making a good living. It's the people that are doing the technical things leading up to the person who performs. Or, when they win free studio recording time, they're going out to some excellent studios, and, the folks there who are, doing PHL Live are top-notch audio engineers and professors, and, and folks who are not only on the Philadelphia Grammy chapter, but the national Grammy chapter. So you never know who you're talking to or who you're sitting next to. And in my case, I actually earlier I went out to Korea and I met with the K-pop people. And this is before K-pop was big in America. Like, you can't touch them now, but at the time I met with, you know, the CEO of the largest management agency, and we wanted to collaborate between Philadelphia songwriters and Korean K-pop artists, but there was not a appetite on the part of our city government. It's they're not knowledgeable about this, and it becomes very problematic. But you know, for people who, you know, that's international, right? That's international. There's commerce, there's intellectual property, there's copyright, you know, there's management contracts, promotional, there's attorneys or travel. You get into like makeup artists, hair, you know, all that stuff.
There's a ton of ways, it sounds like, to get involved.
A lot of things, you know, and that's what people do have to understand, you know, the salaries and the pay and the opportunities just being in around, you know, in supporting this is very good.
Mhm.
And it's not just the performer, it's not just the performers who get that Grammy. It's also the engineers, the producers, the songwriters, and the musicians who perform on that Grammy winning song, right? So there's a lot of Grammys to go around. I'm not saying like everyone gets a Grammy. I'm just saying like it's more than what people think. And yes, that is fantastic for their careers.
I love that. All right. Well, Councilman David O, thank you again for sitting down with us today. It's always a pleasure. And just to learn more about PHL Live Center Stage. Once again, to reiterate, registration starts on August 15th and goes through September 30th. And where can they find more information on where to get registered?
PHL Live, PHLLIVE.org.
All right. You heard it here first. And once again, Gia Banner with Uptown Standard. And we will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
All right.